G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm bringing you another interview, this time with Brett Dev from brettdev.com.
How you doing?
Apologies for the last one, the mic wasn't on. Let's just double check. We got the mics, okay. The mics are on. Apologies for the audio on the last interview. So yeah, we're all good, we're all set. And today we're going to be talking about freelancing predominantly, because Brett is also a freelancer. He also does web development, so I think he'll be able to talk about some things that will be really interesting and eye-opening to many of you guys. So thanks for coming on the channel, Brett.
No problem, thank you for having me.
No worries. And let's briefly go into like a little backstory about how you actually got into freelancing.
Well, I've been doing web development for about 10 to 15 years probably, and I guess I've always kind of freelanced, but it's never been freelancing in the sense of how we look at freelancing today, as in like with the freelancing marketplaces and things like that, because that never existed. So I would always work for myself for different clients, and so I've kind of always done it. I've always been into freelancing. It's only the last couple of years that I've really started to utilize these online marketplaces, as has everybody else.
Yeah.
And it's quite amazing that it's just, you can now do it from abroad. You don't have to live in your local town, and you don't have to pick up your local clients and stuff, you know. So that's how I kind of started my channel and got onto the topic of trying to educate people about those marketplaces and bits like that.
Nice. I've always started with online platforms. And the reason why is because I went into freelancing specifically for location independence. But these platforms can be great no matter, like, even if you just want to stay in the one place. I sometimes forget that these platforms aren't just for people that want to travel. And of course, the other way of freelancing without these platforms is for people who travel as well, right?
Yeah, and they're great because becoming a freelancer, I mean, we make YouTube videos and we have channels where we live in Thailand, but I mean, a lot of people that watch my content and watch your content are probably watching it, and I know you probably get questions as well from people. People just want to earn extra money on the side, you know, to just like supplement their income. So freelancing is great just to do that as well, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't have to be traveling, like.
Okay, so you started off, I guess we can call it traditional freelancing, not using these online platforms.
Yeah, just going from client to client. So, but I say freelancing, but I would kind of work for a big client for like a year or two, kind of as a consultant, I suppose.
Okay.
And then I'd go to another client for a year or two, and that's kind of how I'd roll, just.
And how did you get into that? Because I think a lot of freelancers traditionally, you know, they have corporate experience or have job experience, and then they decide, okay, I'm going to go out on my own, or maybe they've specialized in something, and they're like, well, I can offer this to clients and sort of, I don't need an agency behind me or whatever. Yeah. You went straight into it, you say. So how did that kind of work?
Yeah, well, I would just get clients approach me. So I'd be working for one client and be doing good things for them, and then they'd have connections in the similar industry and stuff, and then people from another business would approach me and say, do you want to come and do this for us? Okay. And I say, okay, or way up. So yeah, pay me more, of course.
well, let's just take a step back to the very first step, because I think a lot of people are like, how do I actually get started? Like, how do I get my first client? Because once you have that first client, you know, you start to build your reputation, you can use that client as a reference, use that for your portfolio. But, you know, for a lot of people, if you've never done what you're, you know, freelancing before, how did you get to a point where people are approaching you?
And it's kind of, although I've been doing it for so long, my backstory and my past, what I've just explained, is not really entirely relevant to how I operate now. Like I said, now I use these online platforms, and a bit like yourself, when I first came to Chiang Mai, I was working for a development agency in Ireland. I was the head of development and taking on all of their development work. And it was kind of temporary because their staff had left them in their company. So they were waiting to get new staff locally.
Yeah.
So I was charging them a lot of money, but I was doing all of their development work. But eventually it died off, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, shit, like I need to get clients.
Yeah.
You know, and that's when I started looking at these online marketplaces, because like you, I wanted to work abroad. Yeah. And like I said, back home, I'd be getting clients from like word of mouth and all that and local businesses. But then I thought I need a way to be able to do this online. And so I just started using marketplaces like UpWork, and I tried so many different strategies, so many different things to try and pick up clients. And eventually I kind of hit on a system that works, and now probably within a year I built a huge body of clients, and I rarely ever go back to those marketplaces anymore. It's all word of mouth again, but it's all now, instead of being local, it's all online.
Okay.
You know.
Well, let's go into that system a little bit. What's kind of is UpWork at the core of that, or how does sort of the system work?
Well, the key way to look at it is to actually treat UpWork like a source of leads, right? It's lead generation. A lot of people, when they go on UpWork, they get trapped in the system of doing cheap work and staying on the platform.
Yeah.
But what you want to be doing is you want to be going on there, and what I always advise people to do is initially at the start, when you first start a new account, you will have to work for cheap. Not really, really cheap, but cheaper than your average, your normal rate. And your goal there is just feedback. So I always say get to a feedback of 10. As soon as you get your feedback up to a score like 10 positive feedbacks and you get a good profile, then you can start charging a proper rate. And what you want to do is go for as many clients as possible. So people kind of scout UpWork looking for big jobs. I don't actually advise that at the start. I advise that maybe later on down the road. But when you're first starting out on the platform, you want to do as small as jobs as possible, and because then you get to process a large number of clients, and that's really what you need to focus on, is building a pool of people.
Yeah.
You know, and as a result of that, some of them will drop off and some of them will remain clients. But one of the positive side effects of that is you'll find you get lots of recommendations, word of mouth. So you start duplicating what I was speaking about in a kind of a local setting, but online, you know. So it's all like the funnel, you know about user funnels. You want to get as many people in the top of your funnel as possible, and by doing lots and lots of small jobs on UpWork initially, you just create a big net, and from that net you'll find you start getting really good clients start emerging. They start recommending you to other people, and before you know it, you're not even going to be on UpWork. Like, seriously, I mean, I've shown people how to do this before, and they've been planning, oh well, I'll do UpWork for a year, and within 3 weeks they're not even using it anymore. They've got enough clients, and they don't even go back to the platform, you know.
Okay, so what's the benefit of kind of having the clients off platform and just using UpWork as a lead generation thing? I've always, like, especially when UpWork introduced the 20% thing, I was like, oh, stuff this, like UpWork, that's it, I'm out. But then once I started to get like quality clients, I was just like, well, UpWork got me this client, and then also I'm not chasing up anyone for money because I'm using the UpWork app, and it's all secured, and I kind of like that escrow service. And then after $500 it goes down to 10% anyway. And so I've kind of found lately that, you know, I'm appreciating UpWork. So what are like the benefits of going off platform with your clients?
Well, for a start, most clients, in my experience, I don't know if it's the same with you, but I would say over half of my clients don't like using UpWork anyway. They find it annoying. They would much rather just say to you, oh, can I just send you a PayPal payment or something like that? And number two is you don't want to keep your clients. Now, I'm not telling you to take clients off of UpWork, because like you just said, they do actually have a very good system for like hourly payments and stuff. And I still have a lot of clients on UpWork. But if a client wants to work outside of UpWork or whatever, it's actually better, because you don't want them in that environment where they can very easily go and hire somebody else. Do you get what I mean? The whole goal is, and you do web development as well, right? So it's different for different niches. But as a web developer, when a client hires me and I do good work for them, the chances are they've probably gone through a lot of bad stuff in order to find a good person. So once they eventually find you, they want you to be their web guy. You know, so they don't want to keep going back to this system, keep paying a percentage out, you know, and you don't really, like I say, you don't want them in that environment. You want to just, it's about building relationships. So you want to have a solid relationship with a client. And once you build those relationships up, they start recommending you to other people. And a lot of the initial clients actually stay on UpWork, but they will recommend you like word of mouth, and then you'll get an email or something, you know, from their friend being like, you did some work for this guy on UpWork, can you do it for me? And then that client's not inside UpWork anymore, they're outside of UpWork, you know.
Yeah, something that is on my mind a lot recently, and something I've heard you speak about on your channel, and also a book that Victor recommended to us in the last interview that I'm reading at the moment, called Stop Thinking Like a Freelancer. It seems like to be a successful freelancer, you kind of need to think more like a business and less like a freelancer. And this is the number one, if I have one number one lesson from my time going into freelancing, is that just because you have experience and you're good at what you do doesn't necessarily mean you can be a successful freelancer straight away. And I think that's that business side of that, business side of freelancing. And you know, in the book, like I'm reading the book, Don't Think Like a Freelancer, or whatever it's called, and they're talking about kind of branding and finding an audience and a target market. I think that's like, for you operate in a certain target market, and that's really powerful for referrals as well, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing as well, like when you work only on Upwork, you are in that mindset of I'm a freelancer, and you're kind of just like a slave to the clients sort of thing, you know. You're just trapped in that little ecosystem, and it's not just Upwork, it's any third-party platform. You know, if you're making courses on Udemy, there's arguments for and against putting your course on Udemy, because when you do make a course on Udemy and you get a student sign up, just as when you take on a client through Upwork, you don't get their email address, you're not able to build any kind of personal relations, and that's really where business is good, and where you can start charging higher prices, and you can start email marketing, you can start providing value to clients and stuff, you know. And that's why I say when freelancing, use Upwork as a source of lead generation, you know. And the more and more you work with that client, the chances are you'll get their email address, and then start building it up that way. Start building a relationship outside of the platform, so you're not just inside this little bubble, you know. Because there's so many more tactics you can use. You can use email marketing. Now that is one thing that I really, really recommend. Is constant communication with your clients. You know, so every client you take on, every single client I get, I put them straight into a MailChimp list, and I email them at least once a month and provide them some value. You know, and just like I say, you do small jobs, like I just said earlier, and you start adding lots and lots of clients, and you get all their email addresses, you put them all in a marketing list, and you hit them every month with emails. What you start to find is clients start coming back and back and back, and just the more you add to the funnel, the more come back, the more relationships you build. Then you get busier, then you can say, oh, I need to up my prices, and that's how it works.
Kind of evolves from there.
Yeah, and it just spirals. But Upwork is the top of your funnel. You know, Upwork is where all your leads are coming from. It's where you first make contact, and it's a great source of lead generation. You know, because it's qualified leads, they're warm leads. And this is why I recommend Upwork to people, because there are various ways that you can get clients, but a lot of them are risky. You know, like you can set up a blog, you can run paid ads to that blog, but you might not get a good return on your investment. Upwork is completely free, and they're warm leads, you know, because people are looking for a service and you're providing the service. They're like the best leads you could possibly get, and it's free. You know, but put them in your funnel and process them, you know.
In terms of building your own business and kind of funnel outside of Upwork, you mentioned having sending an email out every month through your email list provider or system like MailChimp. What kind of value do you send through with that? Is it like an article or like some advice, or? Well,
for example, as a web designer, if you're doing, like, say for example, WordPress stuff, right? You might want to start sending send them an email, tell them, like, you want to educate your client, right? Because a lot of the times, especially with web design, a lot of web designers will kind of build somebody a website and then just let the client fly off into the abyss, and then they're like always on the grind, you know, always trying to pick up the new client. But if you start building relationships and you have them in your email system, write an article or just write an email educating your client about the importance of security. You know, write an article talking about Google SEO and how speed affects their site. You know, and this is all upselling, cross-selling, you know. And the more and more emails you put out this, and you get the client come back to you and go, oh my God, I didn't realize my site's running really slow. Thanks for sending me that link to test it. Can you do something about it? And you say, yeah, sure. And then all of a sudden, these 50 clients that you built websites for initially, half of them are now coming back for you to optimize their site for speed. And you build a steady stream of work that way, you know?
Yeah, the website can be a gateway into work. Like you see it with a common thing with web agencies is they have website, but they also web development services, but then they also have SEO and marketing as well.
Yeah.
And I interviewed another freelancer on my podcast, Graham. I'll link that below. And he was talking about he first did websites, and then after he did the website, the client was like, "Oh, okay, I have a website now. It's just sitting there. How do I actually get a benefit out of it?" And that's how he transitioned into marketing.
Yeah, but I mean, and this is what I'm saying is, if you only exist inside of the Upwork ecosystem, it's very difficult to keep in touch, you know.
Yeah.
I do actually suggest people, I did a video on my channel a while back, maybe you can link to it below or something, but it's like a deal funnel, right? So every interaction, every lead you get with a client, even on Upwork, I always suggest adding them to this funnel, because sometimes working in Upwork, it's not like, you can't just straight away take their email address and start email marketing to them, right? So sometimes you have to use a deal funnel as well. So just use tools, and there's software out there that you can, you know, if you watch that video, you'll see what I'm talking about. You can manage and keep a good relationship, you know, going, right?
Okay, cool. So we've talked a bit about how you got started in freelancing and kind of, you know, the benefit of going off Upwork and building your own system. What are some of the common mistakes that you find, because you have people asking you questions about freelancing all the time. What are some of the basic beginner mistakes or beginner questions that people tend to have that you found?
I think the biggest problem when people are starting out freelancing is they have a sense of entitlement, you know, and I've spoken about this previously, and it's kind of, people will say, "Oh, I'm trying to get clients online, I'm trying to get clients through Upwork, but they pay shit money," or whatever, you know. And it's because initially at the start, if you're starting a freelancing business from scratch, you have no experience, you know, in your business. It's a brand new business. But people think because they've been a photographer for 20 years, that immediately they should be able to charge, act as if they've got a professional company that's been established for 20 years, but it hasn't. To the outside person, you're brand new, you know. And I think a lot of the time, people aren't prepared to kind of drop their prices just for a little while, for a month or two, to get that initial ball rolling. They can put it back up after, but people are just too kind of, they just don't want to do it, you know. And they
would you say
they're their own worst enemy.
Would you say the biggest value in kind of the service you provide to clients is not actually what you, the skill, not actually what you do itself, but more everything around that, the relationship you form, how much they trust you? Because that's what I'm finding as well. You know, I have a client right now who's paying me a good hourly rate to do something that he could find somebody offshore at a really lower rate. And for a long time, well, I guess I'm offshore, but he's an Aussie and I'm an Aussie, so I just so happen to be over here. But for the longest time, I was in this mindset of, well, people can just go and hire somebody in India, the Philippines, to do this job for $5 an hour or less. And how am I going to earn $20 and up, like $40, $50, doing the same thing? And then now that people are actually paying me like a good Western rate for stuff like that, it's just like open my eyes and I'm like, whoa, I did not need to think like that. Do you know what I mean? And I do have value outside of just the skill or the result that I'm providing.
And that's because you assume everybody's broke. But they're not, you know. There's a lot of people that have money. I've got clients that make $30,000 to $40,000 that sell like really high ticket items per sale. And they sell a lot, you know. And when you're making that kind of money, you don't want to work with like somebody in India, you know, who you can't really speak to, who fucks everything up all the time. You know, they would rather just pay the money, and you can charge them a decent price because it's worth it to them, you know. And don't assume everybody's broke. People have money, like. And
that's the other thing. I think of freelancing as a lot about mindset. Maybe you want to talk a little bit about this as well, but just the switch that happened for me was I started looking for quality clients and I ignored everything else because the clients that aren't quality, they're gonna, number one, like not pay you what you're worth, like waste your time, be nitpicky, and it's just crazy. On the other side, you've got these quality clients that do all of that, and there's no, I guess, compromises there. You don't have to make any sacrifices. They'll pay you well. They'll treat you with respect.
Yep.
And actually, a friend of mine who's a freelancer did an experiment recently where he put up his rate higher,
right,
and he got a job, and he found that the client treated him with so much more respect.
Always.
Because they're like, well, this guy's worth $100 an hour.
Yeah.
I respect his opinion.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're hiring somebody $5 an hour, it's like, it's kind of, I guess maybe it goes a bit into that, like, how much money you invest is how much you're committed and how much you believe it's worth.
Yeah. And also, you'll find it just in people's personalities as well. People that, the thing is, if somebody wants to pay you $10 an hour, they know they're paying you $10 an hour. They know that's not a lot of money. So that says a lot about them anyway.
Yeah.
You know, whereas somebody that is going to pay you an amount that they feel like is an appropriate amount, they actually will treat you better as well, because they're overall, like, they're a better person for understanding that. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but that's another thing. That's why actually, again, UpWork is a really good source for leads, because, and I talk about this, we're doing a course on it, and I talk about this in the course, how to kind of identify good and bad clients. And it's not like getting a random email from somebody saying, oh, can you work for me? With UpWork, there's so much information there, it's so transparent. You can almost suss the client out before you even decide to work for them.
Yeah.
You know, so if somebody's hiring you to do something on their website, you can look at their website. You can look at the average hourly rate that they normally pay.
Yeah.
You know, and if this guy's average hourly rate is $5 an hour, you can just ignore it.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? Or if you see potential in their business, I mean, you might see a client that they'll actually put in their job description how much they're turning over.
Yeah.
You know, and you know what I mean? You can vet them before you even go for it, you know?
Yeah, that's something I'm doing a lot more of now, is using the data available in UpWork to evaluate clients. And I've created a ebook, which it's a free ebook. I'll link it in the description, about getting started on UpWork and my lessons. I lost my trail of thought. What were we talking about?
Using the data in UpWork.
Yeah, using the data in UpWork. So yeah, I share with a few tricks to like evaluate the clients before you even apply for the job. Because sometimes I see jobs, I'm like, I'll be perfect for this. And then I look at the client's data, maybe they've got bad reviews, maybe they've got, they're not even payment verified, or they pay low. And I just go, okay, it's not even worth it, because it's better to have a match with a quality client than a match on exactly what they're looking for and then being completely a terrible client.
Yeah, and it's all a process. So I mean, like I say, it's the top of your funnel. You go out, you put your proposals out on UpWork, but then you got the second stage as well. And this is what I do a lot, which I don't see a lot of people doing, is I actually chat to the client for quite a bit before I even like let them set a job up for me, because so many people are so keen to get the money.
Yeah.
You know, they set up a contract and then they're like, oh, this guy's an arsehole.
Yeah.
You know?
That's actually one tip. Sorry to interrupt you there, but that's one tip. Don't be too forceful, because I've heard it from clients, and I've seen it myself. A lot of people are like, hire me now, I am ready to go right now, or send me a message and let's get started right away. And don't be too keen. And actually, something that you told me is you're quite casual up front with the clients, and just show them that, like, you know, kind of, I guess it's kind of like being confident in yourself and being like, here's me, you want to hire me, do it. But at the same time, you don't want to be pushy, because then the client feels like, whoa, stop selling me.
Yeah, well, this is it. And this is why that messaging phase on UpWork's very cool as well, because you can have a chat with a client before they hire you, you can get to know them. And in that process, like you were talking about the mindset, you really do need to flip it. When I'm talking to a client, not necessarily just on UpWork, through any means, I'm interviewing the client's not interviewing me.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny how you said to me the other day, I was telling you how casual I am, and you made a joke, and you were like, what did you say, like, come sling it over?
Oh, g'day mate, heard you need a website. Yeah, just chuck us your WordPress admin, and I'll chuck in and crack on.
Well, that really is how I speak to clients.
Yeah.
And that is because at the end of the day, if that's how I am comfortable working, and that's my most comfortable state. I want to work with a client that likes that, you know, and everybody's different. You know, you speak to some clients really casually and they think you're amazing. They're like, wow, thank God for that. Like, I'm so used to speaking to these guys that are just, you know, like you said, I'm ready to go, give me the work. People don't want to hear that. People want relationships. They want to build trust. They want almost like a friend that they can count on, because what they're hiring you to do is really fucking important. Like, it's their business, especially if you're like a web developer, and they need to call on you like they could call on a buddy. You know, and that's really important. And then if you are overly casual and a client doesn't like the fact that you're overly casual, well, in that instance, you're forcing me to behave in a way that's not natural to me, which I'm not going to be comfortable working like in that mannerism anyway. You know, and it's like, also you said right on my website, it says digital marketer and WordPress developer living in Thailand, and you said to me, "Oh, you tell people you're in Thailand?" And I was like, "Yeah, because they're going to know I'm in Thailand straight away anyway." You know, because it's different time zone and stuff. So I'd rather just tell them right out the gate, you know. And you'll find that people are always happy with it. They prefer that, you know.
I always get a little bit uncomfortable telling people that I'm working abroad, but most of the time they're
it's more uncomfortable if you don't tell them you're working abroad, and then they find out you're working abroad. That's more awkward.
Yeah, because if you are in it for the long term and want to build a relationship, then it's going to kind of hurt the relationship if they thought that you were in their country, and then you're like, oh wait, you're overseas. And then I guess, and that goes back to like, it's all about trust, you know, and that's kind of the biggest value, I think, in the freelancer relationship.
Why is that a bad thing that you live in Thailand? That's a good thing. I use it to my advantage. When I go for jobs, I say, I can do this job for you, I can do it for this rate. If you're wondering why I can do it so cheap, it's because I live in Thailand. So I'm British, you're getting a developer that's worked most of his life in Britain, but you know what, I have such a low cost of living, I can offset that and do great rates for my clients because I'm out here.
Okay, so you use that in your marketing as well?
Use it in your marketing. And they're like, wow, you know, I can hire a guy that's just the same as if I hired a guy in London, but I can pay him less because he doesn't have higher living expenses.
It's kind of the thing that startups in Silicon Valley are starting to realize now. Like, I think I saw this one article about like how much it costs to room with a ridiculous amount of people in San Francisco because the rents are so high, and just like, why not just you know, like move your team to like a low cost of living place, just anywhere other than San Francisco or like one of those really high cost of living countries.
And I think clients are starting to understand this now, and UpWork and these marketplaces have a lot of negative stigma from when they first came out, because when what was it, Elance? When all those platforms first started up, it was just like third world developers on there working for nothing. But now I've started to notice that clients, because the market's shifting all the time, changes are always happening, and now they've got like a few choices. They can either hire locally, but like you said, because if you're hiring someone in London, in San Francisco, your rates are going to be so high, you know, or they can hire like third world and not get the job done that they want, or they can hire online but hire somebody that's English or somebody that's Australian, and it's middle ground, and it's good for like small to medium businesses, you know, that don't have the budget to go and hire a big agency but also want the job done properly, so they're not going to hire somebody third world. Absolutely. So there's a very nice sweet spot there now, and it's been there for a couple of years, and I think people that have any bad misconceptions of these freelancing platforms should go back and try them again, because they did used to suck. They did when they first come out, they sucked, but now it's not the same. The game's changed. Like, you know, there's that middle ground that people like.
All right. Well, we've talked about a lot of things in this interview. I guess to wrap it up and give you guys some actionable advice, I guess let's wrap up the main things we're talking about. So I think, you know, one of the biggest lessons I have is to stop thinking like a freelancer and just valuing the skill, but also what you bring to the table in terms of trust, relationship, and making the customer feel comfortable. I think that's a big lesson.
It's a business.
Yeah,
it's a business.
And thinking about like a business, and then you're then like building your own system off of platforms and not relying on it, and understanding that your business, it's a business, and even if, I think that what you said was really good lesson here is like, even if you have 20 years experience doing your skill, and you start freelancing, it's a new business. I think that just summarizes it for me in terms of the difference between freelancing and working in a job.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to kind of wrap up with?
Yeah, just to touch on that, like I said, it is a business, and when you look at any other traditional form of business, businesses generally don't make money in their first 3 years. You know, so when you're establishing a freelancing business, it's a very good business. Even if you're not charging a lot to start with, you're still actually making money.
Yeah.
You know, if you start up, you open a coffee shop, you open anything like that, you got to buy the property, you got to kit it out. You know, you're losing money for years before you start making money. But for some reason, people that freelance online who want to start a freelancing business online, they feel like that doesn't apply to them.
Yeah.
You know, but it does. Because it applies to all businesses, and they're lucky in the sense that it doesn't apply in such a massive way. Like I always say to people, like people saying I can't get any clients, I've been doing this for 20 years. I say drop your rate, get your feedback up, you know, just for a month, 2 months, get your feedback up. Once it's up there, then your business is established. Now you can start really going for it, you know. And again, touching on what you just said, use all different platforms as well. Like UpWork is just one small platform. You can get leads from everywhere, but have a core, have your business as a core. Maybe you have a website, stuff like that, and then you're getting leads from UpWork, you're getting running Facebook ads, you're doing Google ads, whatever, you know. But just branch out everywhere. Yeah.
All right, well, that's great stuff. I think we'll leave it there for today. Thanks so much for coming on and sharing that. I really enjoyed this chat. I think we could probably talk for many more hours about this sort of stuff.
You probably will.
Yeah, probably will. Could probably continue talking about it. Yeah. But if you want to check out Brett's stuff, he's Brett Dev everywhere online, brettdev.com, Brett Dev on YouTube and Facebook. If you can't find it, I'll link it below to make it easier for you. And everything we talked about, all the links we mentioned, will be in the description as well. And including your course, which is coming up as well, which is going to be like a bigger, more structured version of like what we spoke about today, but like in the structured like course form. And
yeah, it's really just showing. I made it because I get so many messages from people that kind of have a skill and they say, "Oh, Brett, I want to transition to working online, but I don't know how to get clients. This is like the number one thing. I mean, loads of people have skills, web designers, photographers, stuff like that, but they just don't know how to get work. And that's really what this course is covering. And it's kind of, a lot of it's to do with accountability, because there is a process that works and you can build a client base very fast and it doesn't cost you any money. And that's, I mean, I sound like I'm a huge advocate for UpWork. I'm not. It's just that's free. It's a free way to get clients, and using it correctly, like we cover in the course, you will be able to build a base of clients doing whatever you're doing. And that's kind of why I made it, just to hold people's hand, to get them over that line, you know, just to get them to like, and I was talking about this in a previous video, just to earn that first $1,000, you know. If you can be earning $1,000 a month, and just build from there and build up, and it's not as hard as people think it is. But when they come at it from, maybe they've been working in a company for 20 years, it is hard, you know. They need to learn this stuff, and they want to learn it quick, so it gives you a kind of a kickstart through the whole process. And yeah.
All right. Great stuff, but the battery is running out fast, so I'll leave it there, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to hit subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I will catch you on the next video. See you guys.